It is December 2019, and COVID-19 was first discovered in Wuhan, China, a global pandemic that changed the world and our lives forever. COVID came, disrupted the living patterns and lifestyles of humans on Earth, and quickly became a global pandemic, causing numerous people to fall ill and sadly die, and sending countries and people into lockdown and isolation. COVID also changed the workspace and working conditions of people around the world. We had people working doing more hybrid work and more remote work, and some people even lost their jobs due to the COVID. I think the most common thing about the lockdown period is that everyone around the world, regardless of their color, age, job, race, religion, or status, experienced the effects of COVID and was cooped up in their house. Our American television personality, actress, and entrepreneur Oprah Winfrey was also not left out of this lockdown implemented by the various governments of the world. In an interview with Los Angeles Times, Oprah revealed that she locked herself up in her house for 322 days, which, let me say, is a long time. But before we go into why the American television personality took this step, let us have a little backstory behind this revelation. Oprah Winfrey reports that ever since she read the story of Gary Fowler, she has not been able to forget it. She also added that she had been seeing and reading a lot of news involving people dying from COVID and losing their jobs, but the Gary Fowler story just stuck. Before we go on, let me share a little about the Gary Fowler story that has Oprah Winfrey stuck. Gary Fowler was a 57-year-old man who fathered 33-year-old Keith Gambrell. Keith Gambrell shared that his father, Gary, died at the home of coronavirus after going to various emergency rooms of 3 Detroit hospitals and getting turned down. Keith, full of tears, said, "My father passed away at home and no one helped him. He asked for help and they sent him away." This is very sad news, and further details reveal that Gary had sought or asked for a coronavirus test but was refused. Hours leading up to Gary's death, he couldn't breathe properly, and before he died, Gary wrote on a piece of paper, "Heartbeat irregular, oxygen level low." Gary died after his own father, who died of COVID, who transferred it to him. Keith reported that his younger brother called him saying that Daddy isn't breathing. Keith said by the time he rushed over, police and emergency medical workers were already there. A bluish tinge had settled on his lips and also his fingers. He recounts rushing over to him teary-eyed and telling him he loves him. Dear viewers, this is simply a case of discrimination and must be the real reason Oprah Winfrey is stuck on the story. A simple story of a black person getting denied access to medical care because of his color. Well, now you know the Gary Fowler story that has stayed with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah revealed that the thing that scared her the most was him dying on his favorite chair, writing down his difficulty in breathing. She said that in that moment, she realized that it was something she could and would do. In her own words, she said, "I would want people to know at the last minute what I was feeling, what I was thinking, so I'd be probably journaling what those feelings were so that my family would have an idea of what exactly had happened." Back to our original story then, shall we, viewers? Oprah revealed that she had a deep fear following the news from friends and family and others who had lost people to the deadly coronavirus. In her own words, again, Oprah said, "My empathy and understanding of what that must be like to go through that is how I have been relating. I've been so careful with myself that my own friends make fun of me." She also said, "I didn't leave home for 322 days. Literally did not leave the house, so it has not been for me personally a heavy burden to bear." Oprah Winfrey also admitted that the experience was beginning to take its toll on her later in 2021, but that she was able to, surprising to herself, adapt to the isolation, lockdown, and all the time she had, and was able to make for herself. Oprah was also quoted as saying, "I remember one point, Gayle King said, 'Don't you just miss being around other people?' I go, not really. And I think it's because every day I was in an audience of 350 people twice a day, so I've had shaking hands and autographs and selfies and lots of attention and exposure to being around a lot of people. The TV personality expressed her pleasure with the ability for her to be with her own self in a way that she had not been in years, and this she blamed on her job and her inability to fully create time for herself because she is always thinking of the next thing or project to work on. Speaking of projects, Oprah Winfrey, inspired by the events surrounding the death of Gary Fowler and her own personal experiences with racism and healthcare, decided to produce The Color of Care, which is a documentary on Smithsonian Channel. The documentary focuses on how the coronavirus pandemic has exposed the racism ongoing in the healthcare system. The documentary is directed by award-winning Yance Ford. Yance Ford interviews various families of color who have lost someone to the coronavirus and the experiences these family members faced while trying to get access to healthcare before they died. In addition to the film, Oprah Winfrey created a campaign to reach out to medical professionals, affected communities, and lawmakers at all levels to come up with solutions to the health inequality ongoing in America. With its premiere, Oprah states that the film will be available for free. Yes, you heard right, for free on the Smithsonian Channel on Facebook and also on its YouTube until the 31st of May, so you should definitely check it out if you haven't already. Oprah in her interview also talked about how she has been navigating the coronavirus pandemic, the misconceptions she developed and had regarding racial health disparities. Racial disparities mean difference in color, which is closely linked and associated with a person's race or color. Oprah also shared insight on how her privilege has greatly influenced and shaped her healthcare experience for better and also for worse. She shared some experiences of how her name, Oprah Winfrey, has made medical attention easy for her, and also how it has been, should we say, a curse? She shared some insights on the above point, stating that when you are a celebrity down with an illness or a medical condition, it is really good when everyone has their eyes on you and can drop whatever they're doing just to attend to you because of your name. Talk about celebrity privilege, guys. But Oprah states that if not for her name, her healthcare experience would have been as terrible or as normal as the average American. In her words, it would be filled with waiting in lines, getting ignored, yelling to get attention, having people not take you seriously, and having people ignore your pains or downplay the pain you feel. She also stated that celebrities who wish to use your status should use it more when it comes to a health emergency, because it is advantageous to have doctors and nurses, virtually everyone interested, and working to ensure you are fine. All these various new insights and actions did help Oprah simply take, because of the pandemic and the death of Gary Fowler, who may his soul rest in peace, brought to the limelight the racial discrimination in the healthcare system by individuals who take their personal ideologies and beliefs into the workspace. What are your thoughts on racial health disparities and the discrimination that happens in the healthcare system? Have you heard of the Gary Fowler story before now, and how did that affect you? The COVID period was a tough one for Americans and the world at large, and you must not be excluded. So let us know in the comments your answers to the questions and how the isolation and lockdown affected you and your family. Thank you for watching and listening, and until next time, stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.